Everyone, my name is Nina, and for today's interactive presentation number 5, we are going to be doing an experiment known as penny oxidation. So many of the things that we use in our daily lives are rusting constantly. So today we are going to be doing a chemical reaction experiment with pennies. So like I said, it's called penny oxidation, and what we're going to do is take a handful of pennies, as we see right here, and try to see if we can make them shiny again. So I tried to pick out as many dirty pennies as I could find. I think it might make the experiment hopefully more successful and more effective. So we are going to use regular household items that will include, I've got paper towels, I've got a container filled with water. As you can see, I've got a handful of pennies. And then I've got a bowl already filled with my vinegar, white vinegar. I've got a shot glass of salt, about 1 teaspoon, and then got a little plastic mixer once I mix my solutions, and then for the last part of the experiment, I've got my nuts and bolts. So with that said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my salt and plop it into my mixture of the white vinegar, and then I'm going to mix this until I get a clear solution. So just some background on this. Pennies are made up of steel, nickel, and then copper plated zinc. So a pure copper metal is bright and shiny, whereas oxide is dull. So the reason why pennies get dull over time is because the copper in pennies slowly react with air over time to form this copper oxide that we see on coins. And so that's like that darker color. So now I'm looking at the solution. It's looking nice and clear. I'll show you guys what I'm looking at. Pretty dissolved, which is what I wanted. Alrighty, so after mixing my mixture, we now can take our pennies. I'm just going to pop them in here. And let's see what happens. Ooh, it's pretty instantaneous to see how shiny they're becoming. I'll give you guys a little peek at what I'm seeing right now. Pretty shiny, so that's really exciting. I'm going to give them a little bit of time to oxidize and get even shinier to hopefully get a better reaction. While I leave them to oxidize, I'm going to prep the next step in getting my container of water along with a paper towel just by the side. I'm going to give those a little bit more time to oxidize. However, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take some of these pennies and drop them into the water solution while I also grab some pennies and pop them out to dry on just the paper towel. They were getting pretty shiny. It's pretty exciting. There's definitely some darker ones that might take a little bit longer, but for the most part, they're shiny. So that part is a success. So that's great. Like I said, the dirtier pennies you have, I think, might make for an even cooler reaction. So what we see is the pennies are getting cleaner, and this is because of the copper oxide that forms on coins over time and is dissolved in the mixture of vinegar and salt. So like I said, I believe the longer the coins have to oxidize, the cleaner they will become. So why? As we place the pennies in our mixed solution of salt and vinegar, the acidic acid from the vinegar dissolves the dull oxide, resulting in shiny pennies with clean copper surfaces. So now for the next step. Hopefully I've given them enough time to oxidize. I can already start seeing like the bubbles on top of the surfaces. I'll try to show you what I see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take some of these coins and just pop them on the paper towel to dry. And then also I'm going to take some and just let them rinse in the water and see what we get out of that. And then I'll just leave some dirty ones to oxidize a little bit longer. So what I see with the pennies that are rinsing in water, they're not getting shinier. However, they are keeping the shine that they have. And then what I'm seeing from the ones on the paper towel is I think they might need a little bit more time to dry. So I'm not really seeing too much color change as I expected to see. So here we can say that if not rinsed underwater, the reactions will continue to just kind of dry out a little bit longer. I was hoping to see these ones on the towel turn a green and blue color, and that would be because the vinegar and salt dissolve the copper layer on top of coins, and so that makes it easier for the copper atoms to join the oxygen from the air and chlorine from the salt to then create that green and blue compound known as malachite. That's what I saw in the pre-experiment video. I'm not seeing that, so that's a fail on my part. I think maybe that could just be from not having proper amounts maybe of the vinegar salt ratio, maybe not leaving them in long enough, maybe not having dirty enough pennies, who knows. So that part was a fail. I was hoping and expecting to see that color change. So that's the only part that I am not successful in this presentation. So hopefully you guys will be, because that's something I did expect. So last but not least, after completing this experiment, let's see what happens with the bolts. So bolts and nuts, I'm gonna put in my leftover solution after having the pennies soak in it. I'm gonna do the same. I'm just gonna have them soak in this solution. See what happens. What I'm hoping to see is hopefully for them to get a little bit darker, which I'm not, so that's another fail on my part. I was hoping that with the leftover solution and putting the nuts and bolts with the pennies that have already soaked in this solution, hoping to see them get darker. However, that was not the case. So maybe it was just the brass kind of nuts and bolts that I used, and it should have been silver, because as we know, when sulfur combines with silver, it produces silver sulfide, and it kind of causes the silver to tarnish. And I thought maybe we would maybe see a reaction with these, but we did not. And if we did, we would have seen them start to darken, and it would be because the copper that was removed from the coins has now then stuck itself to the nuts and the bolts. So that was what I was hoping for. But overall, we were able to see a chemical reaction in seeing the pennies get shinier. So now we know how to get our coins shinier. So thank you, and I hope the experiment goes well for everyone else. Thanks.